Hi guys, it's album review time. We've got Streetlight and Night Vision. So this album's coming out on Frontiers on March the 14th. It's the second album from this Swedish AOR band. The debut album came out in 2023 called Ignition. It's a really strange one with me. That album, Ignition, was one of my favourites of the year. Easily. I can't remember exactly what position it was in, but I think it was top 10 for sure. And I was a real latecomer to that album. Almost guilt I felt that year because I really wish I'd covered the reactions. And for some reasons I didn't do it. It's a really weird one. I can't even remember why. But in the end I found this album and it blew me away, I've got to say. And it really did. And like I said, it made it in my top albums of the year. The amount of music I listened to, that's a mental thing. I mean, it really is. I mean, I think I must have do 60, 70 albums listening to that year, let alone all the ones that I, don't listen to, that I would listen to at first and think, oh no, that won't make it into my, the top music for the year. So I'll set that one aside. So top 10s are always like fantastic, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 albums. So that blew me away, that album. I thought, well, I can't wait to hear more from this band. I'm going to cover them all the way through their career from now on. So we've heard 2 singles off of the new album Night Vision, and they've both been absolutely fantastic. Both of them have done reactions to them. There's so much positive, comments under the videos regarding those 2 singles. So when you talk about, bands that may influence this band, when you're talking classic AOR like Journey, Toto, maybe Chicago, maybe a bit of REO Speedwagon in there as well. It's almost like late 70s, early 80s melodic rock, with some very fresh elements. I'll get onto those, of course, in a minute. And they do stand out for sure. They stand out as amongst the best of the AOR bands in the scene at the moment. Like some of the newer bands like, Nesta and Cry and Work of Art, them sort of newer, they've got something special, this band. They really have, that makes them stand out with those other bands that I'm talking about. They've got a real classic feel to their songwriting. I think they've expanded upon the brilliant debut. That was a fantastic, like, out of nowhere album, but I think this one has expanded upon that sound. This one won't let you down. It's got all those nuances of that debut, if not even more. So it's not a one-off for sure. They've proven they are one of the best out there. This is also a fantastic sounding album. It's recorded, mixed and produced by Johan Hagar, who's the vocalist and guitarist. So a very, very talented guy. This album sounds fantastic. It's very, this album's got some prog elements as well throughout some of the songs, not all of them. And when they do, they hit that sort of almost prog Toto feel for me. And they sound fantastic when they turn their hands at anything. But when you have those proggy elements on your album, I think you need a production like this. It's really bright. The synths really pop in the mix on this album. The bass is really, really prevalent in the mix as well, but it doesn't forsake anything else. Guitars are there on certain songs, really crunchy. I love the variety on this album. That is something that I loved about the debut as well. It's very much within the vein of AOR, but they veer off into prog territory, like I've said already. Maybe a little bit of melodic rock, hard rock on certain songs. That's what makes this band also so interesting to listen to. Some bands, you get AOR, in the AOR world, for sure, you get 11 tracks sometimes of the same sort of sounding song, and it becomes a bit tiring. This band, as in, both albums now, really get me excited to listen to. They've got like an addictive nature to their music, and wow, it's just outstanding. So Johan Hagar, like I said, he's recorded, mixed and produced, also the vocalist, and does guitar work on this album as well. Outstanding vocals. I did say he reminded me a little bit when I heard their last song. I think I said he's got a slight Brad Delp feel to his vocals from Boston, obviously the late Brad Delp. He's got that sort of, you know, the tone. Not exactly like him, but he's got that tone. Sometimes he reminds me of on certain songs. Of course, you got guitar from Johan as well, plus Philip Stenland. I did say there's a little bit of prog running through this album at times. And musicianship is, man, off the charts on this album. Just amazing technical ability, but the guitar work, like I said before, certain songs is right up in the mix. You get these sort of heavier rocking tracks, and then it's sort of held back a little bit more, is almost in line with the synthesizers. Then you've got Johan Turnstrom on the bass, Eric Nielsen on the drums. Again, you know, we're talking technical ability here, but also this band is all about the songs. But everyone in this band is fantastic. They're some of the best musicians around. It almost makes you feel, I've mentioned Nesta already. If you think about Nesta, and they are a different sounding band, but if you think about Nesta, they're not only brilliant songwriting and catchy melodies, but it's also brilliant musicianship, and that's what you get with Streetlight, exactly the same. And then you've got John Svensson on keys. I'm a massive fan of this band from their synthesizer work as well, the way they use synths. Sometimes they're more subtle and back in the mix on these heavier tracks, but sometimes they are at the forefront and are the main element of the song, or almost alongside the guitars. And it's such an important part of the band. This guy, John Svensson, is just a major element of this band's work. Brilliant. I could literally talk about every song on this album, but I've had to, like, you know, I don't want it to go on too long. So I'm going to talk about my favourite tracks across this album. And there's lots of them. So we kick off with Long Distance Runner. A great opening track, AOR track that has that sort of late 70s, early 80s pomp. Instantly captivating. Authenticity sort of keeps them apart, this band, from the run-of-the-mill, like we're talking about, like it did on their debut. Guitar riffs sort of cut through synths perfectly, the synths perfectly tinkering in that mix. Streetlight have their own sound, without a doubt, which is just perfectly captured in this opening track. Captured in the Night is the second track on this album. This was a single and a great standout song. Up-tempo, chugging tune with all the energy you'll need. Guitar driven with dynamic keyboards again. They just sort of balance perfectly, sort of really showing their classic AOR influences on this track. Topped off by an absolutely brilliant technical solo. Outstanding. Then we move on to Sleepwalk. This was another single. This was actually the lead single from this album. And I was like, when I first heard this song, I was like, yes. They've just captured the sound, you know, that we heard on that debut perfectly. And the quality just doesn't drop for a second, man, on this album. Synths sort of play such an important part on this particular song. And in Streetlight's sound altogether, this is an excellent example of that. It's a very cool synth solo as well on this song. Hagar's smooth vocal and clarity just sort of glide across this cool song. And both of these singles, they're both like one after the other, but they're the perfect choices also to sort of showcase the band's music. Learn to Love Again is the next track. This is a ballad, and like I said, a change of pace. It's ballad time, basically, and it does not disappoint whatsoever. The kind of track you would sort of, you know, have heard in the inception of MTV way back in the day. You know, when MTV actually had music on there. Reminding me of something like REO Speedwagon, you know, would have written. Absolutely superb. A huge emotional ballad sort of performed by a band at the top of their game. Late Night Hollywood is the next track I want to talk about. The band sort of hit hard here. So we just had the ballad, then they hit hard with a track that almost has like an American rock early 80s feel. Such a classic sounding song that has the guitar front and centre in this song. It's fun and shows the band just rock out as good as any other hard rock band out there. Then we move on to Liana. Man, what a track. What a track. The band really honing on their sort of early Toto influence here. And they show again why they are the shining light, I think, in the AOR scene. It's subtle, but at the same time so melodic and addictive. The band sometimes have these prog elements, like I said at the beginning of this review, in their music. And this track is an example of that. Outstanding. One of my favourites. Then I want to talk about Where Did Love Go? This is another beautiful ballad that just captures the maturity in the band's songwriting. Understated guitar, which sort of almost has like a Neil Schon sort of picky, raised on radio feel to it. And then that solo just expands on that sort of journey Neil Schon feel with sort of an emotionally written instrumental section. A classic ballad. And then I want to talk about the last track on the album, End Game. 7 minutes and 14 seconds. Wow. A synth start, sort of 80s pop sort of vibe coming through, and then the guitar's not far away, and we get an absolutely epic prog AOR track. A bit of a nod to Survivor, I would say, in the verses on this song, maybe. This track sort of sums the band up as they sort of take chances. Not, you know, some other bands don't do that, but they pay off with this band every single time. The musicianship in this song is just top notch. In between the brilliant melodies, we sort of get odd time signatures that show they are so much more than like just an ordinary 80s inspired melodic rock AOR band. There's so much more than that. We get everything here. Even a bit of sax comes in on a part of this song. Take note, you guys out there, this is how you finish an album. Absolutely outstanding. So this is it, guys. Streetlight and Night Vision coming out on March the 14th. I'm already thinking, man, where is this going to come in my top albums of the year? It's only February now while I'm recording this, but I'm thinking, man, this is easily going to make top 10, maybe top 5. I know I shouldn't think like that at this early stage because there's got so much music to come. But man, what an album. Maybe at this stage where I haven't gone through the year yet, it's my favourite album of the year that I've heard. It's outstanding, guys. Streetlight and Night Vision. Let me know if you're going to get in the comments below, and I'll see you soon.